What started as a lover's quarrel ended in a terrible massacre, and 3 Naval Academy graduates were dead. The story on Inside Edition, straight ahead.
We got the story.
Next flight to Chicago.
We gotta go live.
They were 3 of the best and the brightest, star athletes and Naval Academy graduates, ready to die for their country. So why did their lives have to end over love?
You have to wonder what love is all about when something like this happens. This could happen to George. It could happen to anybody.
We're going in.
They say that love is blind, and for these 2 jailbirds, the first time they laid eyes on each other, it was the moment they got married.
It wasn't like I was kissing a stranger, maybe stranger to the eye, but not stranger to the heart.
It's like no other kiss I ever.
Now, meet the jailbirds that turned lovebirds.
Just one question.
Today on Inside Edition, we'll take you riverboarding down the Whitewater Rapids. Okay, let's riverboard. 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching Inside Edition today. Love can bloom in the strangest of places. Take the story of the couple who met while talking to each other through an air shaft. Why was love in the air? We'll tell you a bit later on. But first, a heartbreaking story of obsession and murder. They were 3 of America's finest, graduates of the Naval Academy at Annapolis. But one of them snapped, and as Janet Tamaro reports, the damage he caused is simply unbelievable.
In a small church in eastern Pennsylvania, Ensign Carrie O'Neill was laid to rest. Navy comrades, friends, and family sat in stunned silence, trying to make sense of the carnage that took her life.
Beautiful, intelligent, and incredibly gifted athlete. She possessed all 3 of these traits.
In Arlington National Cemetery, Lieutenant Alton Grizzard received a hero's burial. Police say he died trying to protect Carrie O'Neill. Carrie's jilted fiancé, Ensign George Smith, had come to her room with a gun. Smith shot Grizzard, then shot Carrie, before turning the gun on himself.
The witnesses were woken up about 1:30 in the morning with a burst of gunfire, very quick, 1, 2, 3, then a scream, a very loud, terrifying scream, at which time another gunshot went off. A few seconds later, another gunshot went off.
Today, kids play football on the field where Alton Grizzard first made his mark. Grizz, as they called him, played for Green Run High School in Virginia Beach, Virginia. His quarterbacking skill earned him the title Virginia Player of the Year in 1987.
He's a natural athlete. He's gifted, in anything he did.
After graduation, Lila Florence says he twisted Grizz's arm to get him to go to the Naval Academy. There the 2 buddies played side by side, and Grizz became a college football legend.
Grizzard, he's back there. He's got it.
As Navy's quarterback, Grizz broke records that had stood for years. Annapolis collects America's best and brightest, and in this exclusive club, Grizz stood head and shoulders above the crowd. A natural-born leader, he displayed an outstanding loyalty to his friends, and he became the one guy they all counted on.
You couldn't help but like him. He would pester you, until you felt good about him, and he knew that.
At Annapolis, athletes of all sports form a common bond. That's how Grizz met Carrie O'Neill. Carrie was a record breaker, too, earning 12 varsity letters as a long-distance runner. Grizz was 2 years ahead of her and became a valued friend.
She always tried real hard. She gave everything she had in school, in track, in everything.
In her freshman year, Carrie fell in love with fellow ensign George Smith. George was a handsome overachiever, voted best all around in his high school.
You guys also described him as calm, cool. Is that
always
fair?
Always calm, cool, and collective. Never showing temper, never showing anger, never showing any distress.
George Smith was in the Navy's nuclear program, hoping to be assigned to submarine duty. Friends say he was deeply in love with Carrie. In their senior year, George proposed marriage.
It was really romantic. He got down on one knee and proposed to her, and she started crying and just said yes. And, he slipped the ring on her finger, and it was really, a magical moment.
Grizz graduated in 1991. His stellar career as quarterback had made him the Navy's biggest celebrity. They were all three as exceptional and promising as they come, bright, talented, and athletic. But Grizz aimed even higher. He'd long dreamed of becoming a Navy SEAL, even though he was a novice swimmer. And here at the U.S. Naval Amphibious Base in Coronado, California, he pushed himself until not only was he an elite swimmer, he was leading his own unit.
That was a challenge, and that was the ultimate challenge, to be a Navy SEAL, and that's the elite for our nation.
Going through the academy, you sort of look up to him, and everybody wants to do that, not everybody does.
Carrie and George graduated the academy, and they were assigned to the naval base in Coronado. But their relationship had chilled. Friends say Carrie was having second thoughts about marriage and about George Smith.
They went out for 3.5 years, and, she has a lot of changes going on in her life, and I think that's hard for anyone to understand unless you're in the place. Your life's constantly changing, and she was 21 years old.
Carrie broke off her engagement to George, but friends say George began harassing her with cards and letters, hoping Carrie would change her mind. Then Carrie bumped into Grizz on the naval base. They hadn't seen each other since the academy. On the evening of November 30th, police say Ensign George Smith was seen yelling at Carrie O'Neill outside her quarters on the base. He was due to ship out on a submarine in the morning.
We would really take care of one another if someone was, hurt or needed some help. That's why it's really, if George was hurt, and he was hurting, he would have came to me, he would have talked. So it's...
And he never mentioned any trouble with Carrie?
No, I just mentioned he was really looking forward to, his duty, really.
According to police, Alton Grizzard went to Carrie's room later that night. Friends say it was to comfort Carrie. At 1:45 a.m., there was a knock on the door. George Smith had returned with 2 guns.
Dispatch.
Yes, this is Coronado.
We
have the sound of gunshots fired in building 504.
Okay, we'll send officers down.
Police say when Grizz answered the door, Smith shot him 4 times. Smith then found Carrie cowering behind a chair. He shot her in the head before turning the gun on himself.
This is the first time that I can recall that a crime such as this has occurred on any of the 2 Navy installations that we have here in Coronado.
The papers first called it a love triangle, but friends insist Carrie and Grizz were just good friends. They say Grizz would have rushed over to help anyone.
People were saying, why was he there? Or he was just there as a close friend. We all knew each other. Unfortunately, maybe it was wrong place, wrong time.
Grizz was so strong, so talented, so larger than life, that his friends can't really believe he's gone. To die in battle defending his country, yes, that they were prepared for. But to die like this? To all who knew him, it's an unthinkable ending.
For Grizz, at least, he's a Navy SEAL. That's not the way you're supposed to die.
What about for Carrie?
Carrie, I guess you just never think Carrie's gonna die, period.
It's really blowing me away. It makes me really think about people, and if this could happen to George, it could happen to anybody.
One footnote to the sad story. At last year's Army-Navy football game, some Navy players wore stickers honoring their teammate, Alton Grizzard. Coming next, it's love at first sound as they meet, court, and get married, all because of an air shaft.
I would just lay my head on the wall, on the vent, and just talk all night.
I truly believe this marriage will last, or I wouldn't have gotten married.
Here's a strange one. The first time this couple ever laid eyes on each other was the day they got married. But of course, what do you expect from two lovebirds who met whispering sweet nothings to each other through an air vent? Rolanda Watts with our story.
In the city where quickie weddings happen as fast as you can say, I do, it takes a pretty unusual one to turn people's heads in Las Vegas. But then again, this great love story was no ordinary meet, kiss, and book the church. This romance triumphed over excruciating adversity. We'll tell you in a minute why we had to talk to the love-struck couple through glass.
If it would have been any other person, I don't think it would have happened. It's not, I don't think it could have just been anybody down there.
Every night, every morning, after breakfast, I call up and say good morning.
This story is not so much romancing the stone, but romancing the concrete. At the Clark County Detention Center in Las Vegas, 35-year-old Deborah Miller was in a cell above 28-year-old Dion Porche. They started whispering sweet nothings through the connecting air vent, and before long, it was love at first vent.
I would just lay my head on the wall on the vent. I would just vent and lean kind of comfortably and just talk all night.
Within 6 weeks, the jailbirds say they were lovebirds. They'd never even laid eyes on each other, and Dion asked Deborah to get hitched.
It really is love at first sight, or in this case, love at first sound.
On a steamy September day, Judge Del Guy revoked Deborah's probation on a drug charge and sentenced her to 3 years in prison. But she asked the judge if he would marry her and Dion, who's doing 10 years for robbery. Judge Del Guy agreed to at least unchain their hearts later that day.
This little marriage will give them a chance or an incentive to be straight people and then come back out and do the job and do the things they're supposed to do. It's a good thing.
They'd courted in jail, and now they were about to be married in court. This, the ultimate blind date. The love-struck couple finally got to meet that sexy voice at the other end of the air vent.
She didn't fit the voice, though, because she talks rough, real aggressive. She's totally different than what you sound in. I was expecting butch haircut, real masculine type woman. Came out all shy, and I didn't expect that. I had to kind of pump her up a little bit, you know what I mean? To make me feel better.
He looks good to me. I don't know, if you love somebody, it doesn't matter what they look like.
Deborah says she couldn't take her eyes off her dashing fiancé.
She was so nervous. I mean, it was as if she were a bride in some big chapel someplace with this, 10-foot train. She was just shaking.
Even Dion had the wedding jitters.
I was shocked. I was nervous. How my hands were sweating, but I was cool.
The judge's clerk had gotten the flowers, and his secretary came up with a sentimental song she could sing.
And I will always love you.
The judge had ordered the chains and shackles to come off so Dion and Deborah could hold hands. Then the judge sent shockwaves through the courtroom by going even further than that.
He was very surprised when the judge allowed them to kiss, and he kissed her very hard.
That magic moment, their very first kiss, on their wedding day.
It wasn't like I was kissing a stranger, maybe stranger to the eye, but not stranger to the heart, so it didn't matter. It was good. I wanted more.
It's like no other kiss I ever. There's never been another one like it.
Nobody doubted the sincerity of the incarcerated couple's intentions.
It was really cute. I'm sitting back there going, I mean, it was so sweet. It was really real.
Then they got to indulge in a piece of their wedding cake and a sip of soda. So much for a honeymoon in Vegas. Their wedding night was spent at a lesser-known love nest, and they passed the night talking through the vent about their future together in their separate cells.
She was just taken by him. I'm in love, she'd say.
Back at the salon where Deborah used to work as a manicurist, their hair was standing on end.
When I saw the picture in the paper and she was there cutting the cake, I really didn't believe it. The women of this salon were thinking, well, I guess now we know where we have to go to find a man.
It will be years before Deborah and Dion are able to kiss again or even consummate their marriage. But the prisoners of love are already making plans. Deborah has 3 children, and Dion will stay in Las Vegas instead of returning to his life as a gang member in Los Angeles. For now, they say, cuffs on their hands really aren't so bad because it's their hearts that run free.
I truly believe this marriage will last, or I wouldn't have gotten married.
And it's funny though, 'cause I never thought, I didn't think I feel like this. I feel when she leaves, but I miss her already.
Well, shortly after the ceremony, Dion was sent to a men's prison and Deborah went to a women's prison 250 miles away. They never did spend their wedding night together. When we come back, Rick Kirkham takes us on a wet and wild adventure, riverboarding.
How many people have died doing this?
You could be the first one.
I could be the first.
Travel arranged through Continental. One airline can make a difference, serving more destinations throughout Mexico than any U.S. airline. That's the difference on Continental.
Inside Edition will continue in a moment.
When Steven Spielberg was shooting one of his Indiana Jones movies, he wanted some treacherous whitewater rapids. He found them in Northern California. And recently, adventure reporter Rick Kirkham found himself in that very same river, trying to stay afloat.
Stay with this board today. It's going to keep you from getting thrashed on the river.
Do you get addicted to this?
I do it all the time and I can't stop. Does that mean I'm addicted? Or does it,
that means you're addicted. How many people have died doing this?
You could be the first one.
I could be the first.
The American River, just outside Sacramento, California. Miles upon miles of nature's most beautiful and, in some spots, most powerful sights. Each year, year, thousands of would-be thrill seekers trek here to raft down the Whitewater Rapids. But a handful of true daredevils seeking more than the usual thrill have now created a whole new way to experience the power of the river. It's called riverboarding.
People are into thrill sports now, like bungee jumping and all kinds of climbing, that kind of thing. And this just kind of fills another niche.
Inspired by its oceanic cousin, boogie boarding, riverboarding uses a similar half-body length board.
The key differences between this board and an ocean board is the size. It's huge. It's 2 feet wide, 4.5 feet long, 4.5 inches thick. It's got the 4 handles on it. It's got the special sculpting that'll grab your body.
But unlike the ocean, this playing field has more obstacles than a minefield. The worst being the jagged rocks that protrude from the water. After some testing of my swimming abilities and instruction on the riverboard itself, I was ready to take on the river along with these pros. A task that looked easier than it really is. Maneuvering around the rocks is tough work, but the specially designed swim fins help considerably. Still, now and then you'll find yourself coming to a dead stop in the middle of the river. That's where the riverboard's special hard plastic undercoating really comes in handy.
This is actually what protects you from the rocks.
Well, the whole board does, and this makes you slide off the rocks. If you just had an open core surface on the bottom, it would stick on the rocks and it would tear. So this makes it slide off the rocks, makes you go fast when you surf, and it makes the board a lot more durable.
Wait a minute, did he say surf in a river? You heard right. These expert riverboarders have actually found a way to surf the pockets of water between underwater rock formations. However, as I quickly learned, it takes a lot of practice to perfect this skill.
The beauty of surfing on a wave on a river is you can surf that wave till you're basically tired of it. The wave is stationary. You can move back and forth on the wave as long as you want.
What we've already been through today has been pretty exciting, but that's nothing compared to what's coming up ahead.
Our photographers were now in place in the air, on the surface, and in the water, ready to show you what riverboarding is all about. Certain segments of this river are appropriately named Meat Grinder, Thrasher, and Troublemaker. Riding across some of these rougher segments can really make one appreciate the calm waters that appear in the wider areas of the river.
That was a hairy one.
But it's the Whitewater Rapids that bring riverboarders out, and as one of our guides explains, these rapids are so enticing when the water's at its highest point, movie producers sometimes find it irresistible. In fact, the producers of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom chose this very location to shoot the scene where Harrison Ford's character leaps from a plane in a life raft, only to end up in the raging white water. But the peril is the main attraction for riverboarders. It may be everything a thrill seeker dreams of, but I have to admit, a day of riverboarding can really wear a guy out.
And Kirkham is still in traction. You should only go riverboarding with experienced guides, but if you want to take the plunge, it will cost you $120 for a 10-mile trip down the river. I'd do it, and we'll be right back. And here's what's upcoming on Inside Edition.
Some Inside Edition investigations take a long time to complete.
You have a woman that is found murdered inside her apartment.
More than 2 years ago, Inside Edition showed you how police made a high-tech breakthrough in a 30-year-old murder case.
There's a knock on the door that says, hey, our computer says that you've done these following things.
Now, the verdict is in. Reporter Janet Tamaro brings you the final chapter of an amazing Inside Edition investigation.
That's next time, and that is it for us today. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We hope you have enjoyed Inside Edition. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Hello, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Coming up on Inside Edition, hear what this man has to say to you and the soft drink company he tried to swindle. Please stay tuned for Inside Edition. Hello, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Coming up after the news, hear what this man has to say to you and the soft drink company he tried to swindle. Please stay tuned for Inside Edition. Thanks, Sherry and Pat. And coming up after First 9 News, hear what this man has to say to you and the soft drink company he tried to swindle. Please stay tuned for Inside Edition.